Election Day is fast approaching on November 3rd, and with COVID-19 on an upward trend in Utah and Salt Lake City on a high level of transmission, vote by mail has never been easier, safer, and faster. Plan your vote today. Visit got-vote.org to learn more. On this week's episode of Capital City News, we hear from Sherrie Swensen, Salt Lake County Clerk, about vote by mail and election security. And our History Minute this week is about the haunted tale of the Old Cottonwood Paper Mill. Let's get started with our legislative update and look back.
At its October 13th meeting, the City Council received an update to the local emergencies including COVID-19, the earthquake, and the September windstorm. An update on efforts being made to relieve those city residents experiencing homelessness. Discussed options for new ordinances that would further regulate the use of police body cams, and held discussions about new budget amendments. To learn more, visit slc.gov/council. Governor Herbert held a press conference last week to redefine the risk system used by Utah. The previous color-coded restriction phases have been rendered obsolete by a new high, moderate, and low-risk category. Each category is now based on the transmission rate index for COVID-19. Salt Lake City is currently in the high transmission phase, which means our mask mandate remains in effect, and we're required to limit casual social gatherings. To learn more, visit slc.gov or visit coronavirus.utah.gov.
The fall season is upon us, and although the holidays will look a little different this year, fun and safe activities are encouraged. As COVID-19 levels of transmission are being monitored by county, public health and wellness is at the forefront. Guidelines continue to stay in place for wearing masks, physical distancing outside your household, and avoiding social gatherings of 10 or more. Some creative activities could include hosting a virtual get-together, sharing photos or videos, decorating your home, or cooking a family favorite recipe. Celebrate safely this holiday season. For more ideas and COVID-19 information, visit slc.gov. Your vote, your voice. Make it count. Plan your vote today. The 2020 general election is on Tuesday, November 3rd. Election ballots have been mailed out. You can conveniently return your ballot in your own mailbox, postmarked by November 2nd, or send off at a ballot drop box location near you. In-person voting is still an option. However, due to COVID-19, voters are encouraged to vote by mail. For voting deadlines, a full list of drop box and polling locations, or to register to vote for this year's election, visit got-vote.org. The time is now to get out, make your voice heard, and vote. Sherrie Swensen, Salt Lake County Clerk, talks to us about the process of voting in Salt Lake City and the security of our local elections.
We are on a vote-by-mail system primarily, and we mail a ballot to every registered voter. So someone registers to vote, and at the beginning of the process, we order ballots for all of the registered voters. We have to send an extract to our ballot vendor, have them print ballots and deliver the ballot packets to the main post office. They then mail out the ballots to all of the registered voters that are eligible for that particular election. I think people don't realize that we actually do a signature verification for every ballot that is returned. So, first of all, we have what we call an Agilis machine. The ballots come in from the mail-in ballots, or if they drop them in a drop box, and they're run through a big Agilis machine. And in that Agilis machine, there is a barcode. It logs in that the ballot's been returned by that voter, and it also takes a picture of that signature on the affidavit on the return envelope for that voter, and then it's digitally displayed alongside the signature we have on file for that voter from their voter registration record. And then that signature on that return envelope is compared to the signature that we have on record for that voter. If they don't sign that affidavit on that ballot envelope, or if it doesn't match, we then send what we call a cure letter to the voter telling them the signature doesn't match. And they're given an opportunity to sign a form and then allow for their ballot to be counted. So the security is excellent. We track the ballots very carefully. I mean, when they're returned, we account for the ballots that are returned. They're under very secure environment, and we definitely make sure that the person returning the ballot is the person who should have returned the ballot. Our scanners that handle the paper ballots are not hooked to the internet. Neither are our electronic voting machines. Nothing is hooked to the internet as far as the voting equipment. But we also have early voting and election day vote centers. So for people who don't vote by mail for whatever reason, maybe they didn't get a ballot, they might have moved, not updated their address, they may have lost their ballot, or whatever reason they want to vote in person, we don't offer just vote by mail. We also offer in-person voting, and that's really important. I would never run a vote by mail election without in-person voting being available. And the neat thing about our in-person voting is it's generic. In other words, an early voting location, whether it's here at the county government center, we start 2 weeks before election day, or at our satellite locations throughout the county, they can vote at any one of them. Long gone are the days, as well as the election day vote centers, when you have to go to a certain polling place where your precinct is listed. It is generic. You can live in Salt Lake City and vote in Harriman, or vice versa, and it makes it really convenient. My website has a lot of information, again, got-vote.org, and we're always here to answer questions that anyone may have. We want to help people through the process and encourage voter turnout, so we're happy to help.
And now it's time for our History Minute.
In 1881, the Deseret News began construction on a new paper mill in Big Cottonwood Canyon. This mill would help the Deseret News print their newspaper, but would also help supply books and other paper craft to the people of Salt Lake City. Originally, a water wheel powered the facility, and some of the granite used in its construction was left over from the Salt Lake City Temple project. It was sold in 1892 to the Granite Paper Mill Company. In March of 1893, the mill was shaping up to have its best year ever, but that's when tragedy struck. A fire broke out on the morning of April 1st, devastating the mill and the business. For the next few decades, the mill struggled and passed ownership to different entities. Another fire broke out in 1935. In the 1960s, a renovation of the old mill turned the place into a dance hall, music venue, coffee shop, and movie house. Through the 70s and 80s, it remained popular for entertainment, though its uses shifted. It spent time as both a discotheque and even a haunted house. The building was condemned in 2005, though some say it's really haunted. Stories of a suicidal night watchman from the 1970s and a mill employee who was killed there in the earlier part of the century linger in the old, abandoned, historic site. Today it remains in ruins and closed to the public.
That's it for this episode. Our big takeaway is to get out and vote, Salt Lake City. There are 21 drop-box locations throughout the county, and they're open 24/7 and until 8 p.m. on election night on November 3rd. To learn more, visit got-vote.org. That's it for this episode. Thanks for watching. For SLC TV, I'm Poonam Kumar.